A Flourish writer believes in the power of her story, the gospel made alive as a declaration to this generation. She cultivates the courage to dream, write, and publish the story inside her. Welcome to Flourish Writers.
Hello and welcome to Flourish Writers and this online conference where you can enjoy a good writing session from the comfort of your own home. So I hope that you're comfortable and ready to get started. My name is Tisha Martin and I am a writer and an editor. I edit full-time for beginning and best-selling writers, professional editing agencies, and publishing houses. Since 2017, I have edited over 250 books and manuscripts and helped writers navigate the wonderful world of writing and editing and helping them make their manuscript shine. I have a bachelor's in professional writing, a master's in English education, and an editing certificate from the Penn Institute. I really like what Arthur Plotnick, who is also a writer and an editor, he said this of writers. You write to communicate to the hearts and minds of others what's burning inside you, and we edit to let the fire show through the smoke. So the editing and writing process, or rather the editor and the writer, it's a relationship, a working business relationship, where we work together and make sure that their manuscript is the best it can be and that it shines through the smoke, through the mess that we call self-editing. So let's get started with self-editing your way to success. Now I realize sometimes editing may be intimidating or scary, because we may not know what's all involved. And I would love to encourage you that that is what this session is all about. I'm going to tell you and show you what is involved in a good comprehensive self-edit, so that way you can make good self-edits to your own manuscript yourself and be successful and be more confident as your own self-editor. I want to empower you, because like everything else, if we don't have anything in place, we don't know where to get started or how to get going on our journey. So let's get started on our self-editing journey. 5 things I'm going to talk about today are characters, dialogue, grammar, scenes, and theme. First, our characters. When you create your character, you need to figure out what their background is, their personality, their appearance, and their journey. The background is where they came from, what makes them who they are. Who were they before the story got started? Maybe they came from a bad background, a bad home life, or maybe they just took a voyage across the ocean. They're going into a new land. Or maybe they just came back from Iraq. Maybe they just got married. Maybe they're looking for love. You never know. Their background plays a part in their personality. Their personality speaks to their background because the background affects the personality. And it also affects the story's plot even more than you know. So creating a character with a great personality enhances the plot and has the potential to impact your readers' lives as well. So for example, in the book Jane Eyre, Jane first meets Mr. Rochester. She thinks that he's an angry person, but he doesn't scare her. So what does that tell you about her personality? Well, she is used to angry men. So where did she come from? Well, she came from Lowood, where the headmaster there was a very mean man. And so she learned how to deal with that. So think of your story. What motivates your character to do the things that they do and say what they say, react and respond to the different events within the story? And these can apply to nonfiction and fiction. These elements are equally important to both genres. In a nonfiction manuscript, your character's personality will enhance the illustrations that you use for each point that you're trying to make, and that content will really come alive for your readers. So developing those elements ensures the depth of personality and its effect on your reader. So our character's appearance, it's how they show up in the world and how they come across to your readers. General appearance speaks to hair color and skin tone. That's just relevant. What we want to do is go deeper. We want to go into the type of description that shows your characters' hobbies, their lifestyle, their profession, their daily habits. Those greatly affect our appearance. So if your character is the CEO of a very large company, perhaps they're always busy, or maybe even frazzled. How might this affect their appearance by their actions? Are they always looking in the mirror to make sure that their hair is in place, or that their suit is wrinkle-free? Your character's clothes make a first strong impression, as does their outward appearance in their culture, their lifestyle, their profession, their interest, their self-esteem, and other of those key characterization factors. Your character's body language speaks to their appearance as well. And those elements also speak to your character's mindset and their life goals. And that we come to the character's journey. There are two kinds of journeys for your character, that inner journey and the outer journey. Each journey motivates the characters throughout the story and engages the reader in your character's life. So the inner journey is what the character wants. No, the inner journey is what they're struggling with and by what they want. And the inner journey speaks to their fears and their desires. The outer journey is the events around them that either help them or discourage them from getting what they want. And both of those journeys work together like a pair of roller skates, like two matched pieces of china, and helps guide the character through that story. So the four elements of their background, the personality, appearance, and journey, it sets the stage for an exceptional and engaging reading experience that your readers will never forget. Let's look at two examples from a nonfiction and a fiction. The nonfiction is 936 Pennies, Discovering the Joy of Intentional Parenting by Erin Lynham. And this is a really good book because Erin and her husband were given a jar of 936 pennies, 1 penny for each week of her son's life from birth to age 18. And each time she took out a penny from the full jar and dropped it into the empty jar, told her how many weeks she had left to raise her son. So it really helped her be intentional about her parenting. So this is the opening paragraph, and it says, "My teeth were clenched as I balanced our frantic toddler on my hip, discreetly stuffing animal crackers into his mouth." Okay, so we see something's going on here. The mother is frustrated because the child is crying Or maybe the child is trying to get down and they can't for some reason because maybe they're in a crowded area and the baby needs to stay with the mother, can't run off. The mother is trying to keep the baby quiet by stuffing those animal crackers into his mouth. So we don't know a lot about this opening paragraph, but we do know that the mother is obviously struggling to keep this baby quiet. It shows her inner journey here. She wants to keep that baby quiet. And a bit of her personality, she's being resourceful, trying to balance the baby on her hip and feed him at the same time. Maybe she has other children around her, we don't know. But this certainly makes us want to keep reading. The example on the right is from The Sea Before Us by Sarah Sundin. It's a fiction, and it is about two officers must work together to piece photographs together to prepare for the D-Day invasion and the things that they go through to get to that hallmark day, to get to that day, to D-Day. So this is the opening paragraph. Second Officer Dorothy Fairfax slathered a thick layer of orange marmalade on the buttered toast and slid the plate in front of her father. I had enough ration coupons for the sausage and your favorite Fortnum and Mason's marmalade. If you don't eat your breakfast, I shall feed it to Charlie with no regret or shame. Well, we see a lot about this character in the fact that she is no nonsense, she's resourceful, she's caring, she has a career, and there might be some tension between her and her father. And we don't know who Charlie is, but we might think it's a dog or something like that, a pet of some kind. But there's a lot that's said about this character, and there's nothing about her appearance. It's all in her personality and what she says and how she says it. So let's look at your character. You can briefly describe your character and what they want and where they came from. So that way, your character can reflect the story that you're telling and the message that you want to touch your readers' hearts by using those specific qualities, those specific elements to help your readers engage with your character. The next one we want to look at is dialogue. Now, I have 5 types of dialogue that I see a lot, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the trick to finding why we use the correct type of dialogue is really important, because dialogue drives the story. It's not description, it's not even narration, it's dialogue. Readers want to engage with the characters. They want a fun story, they want an engaging story, they want something, they want to relate to these characters, and they relate to them by the dialogue. So that wooden dialogue is dialogue that tells your reader what the characters are doing. For example, I have 2 characters here. He says, "Joy, why are you raising that hammer above your head?" She says, "Because I want to hang up this picture." So this type of dialogue does 2 things. It's telling the reader what the characters are doing, and it's stilted conversation that gives narrative details. You can better show those details in the character action and edit that dialogue so that it shows your character's personality and their desires for maybe helping the other person. Insignificant dialogue is basically exchanging niceties, such as how is someone doing, discussing the weather. It's small talk. Small talk is great if it is key to your story, but in our manuscripts, insignificant dialogue kills the dramatic purpose that the characters have for each scene. Readers want to engage. Now, if the purpose of your scene is to show the nervousness of two couples meeting for the first time, then insignificant dialogue would work because it shows that they're nervous. But don't let it go on and on. Short, quick, simple, and keep going with the dialogue. The more significant you make your dialogue, the more of an impact it will have on your readers. For the most part, your dialogue really needs to reveal your character's goal and reason for having that particular conversation, just to get something done. Repetitive dialogue says the same thing twice. I see this a lot in manuscripts because as writers, we write something and then we think, oh, I can say it a whole lot better. So we write something else and we forget to remove that repetitive part. Naked dialogue is just very bland. It doesn't really say a whole lot. It's not engaging. It's unimpressive. You want to be able to enhance the reading experience and provide subtext. And to do that, there's two ways. Use descriptive tags, meaning if someone's tired, you can say that they moaned. It enhances the dialogue. And provide subtext, tells you that your character's tired because they're moaning. You can use speaker actions or character actions. If someone's tired and they say, I'm not tired, well, we need to provide something that describes that. So they lay their head down on the table or they fall on the floor and go to sleep. We need to enhance it. Use the character action to enhance the dialogue, to not make it the dialogue as bland. Overdressed dialogue does the opposite, gives way too much information. And several ways that your dialogue can tend to be overdressed. You use speaker tags, meaning if, for example, I'm going to the party, Isabella said happily, twirling. Well, that's too much. That's overdressed because you can just say Isabella twirled. That shows that she's happy instead of saying she's happy. Give her that action. Speaker tags can repeat the tone within the dialogue and create that problem of repetitive dialogue. So we need to trim that dialogue by getting rid of the adverbs and making sure that that adverbs are replaced with character action and engages the reader in the scene. So dialogue is really important because it connects your readers to your characters. It engages your readers in the story or message. It provides an exceptional reading experience. There's a difference. Good dialogue simply tells a story. Great dialogue shows the story, shows the characters, and offers your readers a satisfying ending and teaches them something new. I have an example of dialogue. The dialogue on the left. Let's go through that. Hi, Julie, Logan said carefully. Hey, I won't ask how you're doing, he said pensively. No, Julie asked, half sad and disappointed. So it's not very engaging. There's no character action, there's no tension, there's adverbs, there's not much going on. So we're going to replace it with character action, reaction, or thought, and we're going to see if we can make this better. So let's look at the example on the right. Hi, Julie. Logan smiled, slow and easy. Hey. She flitted her gaze away from him and back again. He ducked his head toward her. You okay? So we see action here between the characters, and we're definitely engaged because we wonder if there's some romantic tension going on. We wonder if there's a problem. We wonder why Julie is sad and Did Logan have something to do with it? Is he nervous? This adds a lot more depth to our dialogue because we've showed action with the character and we've engaged the reader in the scene with those simple changes. Next, we're going to look at grammar or mechanics. I am not going to touch on this a whole lot in this particular session, but grammar mechanics are misused words, grammar mistakes, quotation marks, and punctuation marks. I see this all the time that, it's just a bit of a mess. Manuscripts just isn't edited or isn't proofread very well, and sometimes it's hard to know where those commas go and where those quotation marks are placed and what right word to use. It's hard, and so often we can miss this element because it tends to be a more boring part of the writing process, the editing process, but it's very important because mechanical errors do several things. It can decrease your publishing chances. It causes miscommunication and confusion, sometimes between the sentence structure and descriptions. Word choices sometimes you could always make them better. It gives an unprofessional appearance. Mechanical errors can be embarrassing. Sometimes Word likes to autocorrect. Maybe it auto-corrected to a word you did not want to use. It may cause your readers to take you and your manuscript less seriously, because if you have that one reader who spots all your mistakes, it can really discredit you in the eyes of that reader, and then they may not want to recommend your book to anyone. Stranger things have happened. So, and because of that, sometimes it can affect your book sales. With the publishing industry, appearance professionalism is very important, even down to the use of commas, spelling, word choice, punctuation. It's very important. And often, if a publisher is having to make a really hard decision with saying yes to your manuscript or no to your manuscript, they will look at the mechanical, is this manuscript clean of errors? Is it free of errors? If you are not keen on, if this scares you or intimidates you, never fear. In 2019, I am offering a grammar series, a mechanical punctuation series just for you. Each month, I offer great tricks and tips for helping create a better presentation for your book so that you can focus on the writing and the content part of it. So at the end of this session, I'll tell you where you can sign up to receive a complimentary series delivered right to your inbox, and you can have those tips for helping edit this part of your manuscript, because sometimes the mechanics, it can be tedious and overwhelming, and we don't want that to be like that for you. We want you to be able to focus on the writing. And then let's look at scenes. So a scene is one element, one item in a story that is connected to another scene, which is connected to the entire story. So from the first scene to the last scene, each scene is important and is connected to each other and tells the whole story and the whole message. So each scene needs to have one perspective, one character's perspective, usually one idea or one goal, and you can open with an action or a quote, depending on whether it's fiction or nonfiction. If it's fiction, you can end your scene with a cliffhanger. Or if it's nonfiction, you can end the chapter with a summary of the points that you talked about and then do a segue into the next chapter. The key is to make each scene as clear as possible with one idea, one motive that links the whole story together and helps your reader stay on track with the story. So I'm going to give 2 examples of a good scene and a bad scene between fiction and nonfiction. So this scene is fiction. On the left, the paragraph on the left is from the book that I am writing. It's fiction, historical fiction. So the paragraph on the left reads, "Within a few seconds, Greer answered his line. 'Mr. Greer, this is Laurie Adams.' 'Laurie, hello,' the deep voice responded, wondering why she was calling. 'What can I do for you?' She muffled a sob. 'Can you come get Champ?' Okay, here, there's not a whole lot going on. We don't know who the main character is. We think it's Greer because he's wondering why she's calling. But really, the main character is Laurie. But the reader doesn't know that. It's not clear. We need to really revise this scene to make it better. So let's look at the scene on the right. Laurie shrugged into her jacket and met Mr. Greer at the barn. 'Did you find the lead rope?' 'Hi, Laurie. Yes, I did. You keep a tidy barn.' Mr. Greer led the horse out of the barn and sent her up the ramp. 'How are you?' Laurie blinked back her tears. 'I think we're fine. Dad doesn't want any more horses, but I do.' Mr. Greer raised an eyebrow. She folded her arms. 'Because I want to continue where Mom left off.' Okay, this is much better. It's not perfect, but it's much better. We know who the main character is, which is Laurie, and there's character action, such as blinking back the tears, raising the eyebrow, folding the arms, shrugging into the jacket, and there is personality in the dialogue, and there's engagement between the readers. We wonder if Laurie's okay, why Dad won't let her keep the horse, what happened to Mom, and why Mr. Greer is in the picture. A nonfiction scene. This is from a book that I edited. So the paragraph on the left is before the edit. I have strategically placed incense and those Glade plugins all around the church to reek of old smell every time you open the door. I put flowers in vases around the building too sometimes. Some kind soul planted knockout roses all around the perimeter. I prune them regularly, pink and red, and bring them inside. Okay, this is not too bad. It's a little messy. It's a little out of place. We don't know what kind of roses, knockout roses, what are those? And to reek of old smell, okay? She prunes red and pink. We're not quite sure. This is a little messy, so we need to tighten it up a little bit, give it more of a focus and a perspective. The paragraph on the right is the one after I edited it. I have strategically placed incense and those Glade plugins all around the church to rid that old smell every time you open the door. I put flowers in vases around the building too sometimes. Some kind soul had planted pink and red knockout roses all around the perimeter. I prune them regularly and bring them inside. This is much better. Still needs a little bit of work, but we know what kind of roses they are. They're pink and red, and they're knockout. They're going to be really pretty. We've tightened up to rid the church of the old smell by putting incense and Glade plugins all around the place. And we've enhanced that last sentence there as well. But it has an overall one idea, which is getting rid of the old smell and making the place beautiful. So let's look at our last element, which is theme. Theme is what your story is about. essentially. You can focus on an object or a quote or a song or something else. It has that idea of the reader is going to be able to tell someone else about your book in 1 or 2 sentences because the message was so strong that it spoke to the reader's heart by the use of the theme. And theme can be forgiveness or truth or joy or something like that. I really like what Martha Aldersons and Jordan Rosenfeld say about theme in their book, Writing Deep Scenes. They said that if action is the clock of your plot and emotion is the layer that touches people's hearts, then a theme is the link that connects both elements and creates a greater sense of significance. That's what we want to do with each of the stories that we offer to our reader. We want to have that deeper sense of emotion and significance of our story's message. So you can introduce your theme in the first chapter, you build toward the middle, and you resolve with the last chapter. And reader is going to be able to see that thread throughout each story or each scene or each chapter. And that will really resonate with your reader. So let's go inside the theme. I just have 2 examples. The one on the left, his father's hair looked like salt and pepper shaker, ready to sprinkle wisdom on anyone who stopped at the bedside long enough to listen. This theme might be wisdom, or that passing information along, passing information through the generations, or memento, something that would be memorable. The example on the right is from Tending Angels by Sherry Cothran. This is from her introduction of her book. After the incident, and there had been a shooting. Someone had a gun in the vicinity that they were in. So after the incident, Jay, one of our regulars, a man who suffered from homelessness, noticed that I was a little shaken up. He pulled me aside, touched me gently on the elbow, and said assuredly, "We'll never let anyone harm you. We're keeping watch over you." And I really like that because it speaks to the whole theme of her book, which centers on her different interactions with the homeless people that she worked with when she was a pastor in Tennessee. So it has the idea of, sometimes you entertain strangers because, treat them well because you never know, you might be entertaining angels unawares. So that line there, "we're keeping watch over you," really spoke to the whole theme of that book. So the end result of a great self-edit is that you will have a story with a deeper meaning and a message that resonates with your reader long after they have turned that last page, kind of like a really good meal. You just kind of remember it for a while, and it just really, you felt good about it. That is what a good self-edit will do for your manuscript. So after this, where do you go from here? So after you've written your manuscript and edited it, set it aside for a while. You want to be able to come back with fresh eyes. Set it aside for a while and work on something else. And you can pick it up after a while and edit it a second time. Look for something that you might need to work on. And then you can send it to your critique partners or your writing friends, or you can hire an editor before submitting to agents and publishers to make sure that it really, really shines, that your manuscript is really going to be effective for your readers. So here's how to get in touch with me. If you want to sign up for my blog posts on for my punctuation series, my grammar series that I'm doing this year, you can find me at tishamartin.com. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you, tisha@tishamartin.com. and sign up for my newsletter or sign up for my blog posts to get them directly to your email. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what you're working on, and would love to work with you if you think that it would be a good fit. And I wish you all the very best in your own self-editing so that your manuscript will be successful. And I hope, thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the Flourish Writers sessions, and we will hopefully hear from you soon.